So continuing from where we left off, the new Shir, which will take several sessions. It's very long in here. Mahi באמת אהבה עצמית. What in truth is self-love? First section, ביטול שאלת האהבה העצמית מיסודה. Negating the question of what self-love is from its very roots and foundations. We've learned that there is a necessity for self-love, right? If there's none, it can be very problematic. On the other hand, we still have not come to any type of deep understanding of what is the purpose and source of this self-love. The Rav wrote in Oros HaKodesH, התעלות, the elevation of the world, that section. על פי המחשבה הגדולה של אחדות ההויה, based upon the great ideas of the unity of existence, בטלה היא השאלה של אהבה עצמו, it negates the question of self-love, שאלה שמוה לראשונה החטאת, because some of them put it as the beginning of sin, ואלה ליסוד המוסר, and some of them for the foundation of ethics. Now, what the Rav is talking about is Greek philosophy here.
Is what?
Greek philosophy. Today, to go into yeshiva and find people that are aware of Greek philosophy is a little bit of a stretch. However, Rav Kook's demands on his students were very great, and he demanded that they knew Greek philosophy. There's a story with the Nazir that whenever he prepared shirim, he would not only prepare a stack of svarim that he would use for his shir, there was a much larger stack of svarim that he had figured out all the possible questions that all the students could ask, right? And he had the answer bookmarked in one of the other svarim. So when someone asked the question, he would open the sefer and give it to them to read to the class what the answer was, all right? So when someone asked the question, he said, "Ze nimtza be'Aflaton." This is found in Plato. And he opens a book and he hands it to the guy. And the guy looks at the book and he says, "Ze be'Yavanit." Ani lo yodea Yavanit. It's in Greek. I don't know Greek. And then this here goes, "Lo yodea Yavanit." You don't know Greek. Tzarich l'dat Yavanit. You have to know Greek. I do not think this is the normal statement of a Rosh Yeshiva in most of the yeshivot that exist today. However, to a very brief explanation of what Rav Kook is talking about the two possibilities of self-love in Greek philosophy, there's one idea that in Hebrew we call Reshit Chatat, and the beginning of sin, meaning if someone is only concerned about themselves, they will manipulate what's around them, they will abuse what's around them to their own self-aggrandizement and their own profit and so on, not caring about anything else.
Narcissism.
Yes. And there's another one that's Yesod HaMusar. It's the foundation of ethics. And this idea is as follows. Since I want all the good things for me, I want people to be good to me, therefore I'll be good to them so that they'll be nice to me. Right? But
neither of those are MS.
The first one is, as you said, narcissistic. The second one is still entirely self-centered. The only reason
it's not altruistic.
It's not right. It's the only reason why I'm doing him a favor is so that he'll do me a favor. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing.
The first make a favor.
Right. So Rav Kook wants to know, right? what exactly this is. And he says, Al pi hamachshava הגדולה של אחדות ההויה, when we think of the great idea of the unity of the soul, bטלה היא השאלה של אהבת עצמו, it negates the idea of self-love. How is this? Rav Kook explains, Lo yesh ki im ahavat hakol. By the way, lo yesh and eino seem to be synonyms. Lo yesh is no, there is, and eineni is there is not. Rav Kook certainly does not use them that way. And in general, by the way, certainly in modern spoken Hebrew, we'd never say lo yesh. You'd say eino, right? But no, there is not with the love of everything. She be'emes ava עצמית nura ha'elyona. This is in truth, this self-love is the enlightened, elevated one. When a person looks out and he sees himself separated from all creation, right? Then he looks at the love of himself as different than loving creation. However, when he looks at the world in a deeper way and he understands that he is an integral part of creation, he's part of the whole, right? Then his self-love is a reflection of his love of all of creation. In the inner sense, right, which is the true existence of the world, man is not, let us say, the lonely man of faith, right? He is not a disconnected crumb, right, that has its own desires and wants, right, that comes from other people, right? If I get more, they have to get less. Or they have to get less so I can have more, right? That's not what it is. Because all of creation is like one body, right? And the right hand is only really feeling good if the left hand is feeling good, right? If one part of your body is hurt, is in pain, as a whole, you do not feel good, right? So too, if you can look at it this way, right? You no longer see your own interests as separated from the entrance of the world. It is one spark within all of creation. His love of all of creation, right, is what causes him to love himself, because he is also part of God's creation of the world. When we look at the world, al pi hamachshava הגדולה של אחדות ההויה, as through the thought, the great thought that the world is one creation, bטלה היא שאלה של אהבה אהבת עצמו. Then, as Rav Kook said, you've negated the idea of self-love, right? Because it's not, the self-love is part of the love of everything, right? The question doesn't come up. Ahavat kol, she באמת אהבה עצמית. Love of everything is truth, the love of oneself, הנורא והעליונה, that the enlightened and uplifted, right? This spark is not separated from the whole. Having said this, Rav Kook was certainly aware that there is a certain let us say, spark of narcissism in people as well, You can be aware of these things, right? But v'ahava ha'atzmit hamezuyefes, the forged self-love, hava et hanitzutz hakatan, the love of the small spark, hamitra'eh le'einaim hatrutot, that is seen to the limited sight of the eye, not et ha'atzmiyut mechaveret, that hates pure self-centeredness, pure narcissism. Hari hi simiyat einaim, sheinu pachut kesel me'asher hi rasha. This is blindness that is not any less foolish than it is evil. Right? These things run together. They're not at all separated. Something that it's foolish because it's simply a lack of understanding of the world, but that doesn't stop, because it's foolish, that doesn't stop it also from being evil. Right? There are, unfortunately, a lot of people that do a lot of evil, not because they intend to, but simply they don't understand what they're doing.
Don't realize the ramifications of their actions.
Right. I mean, they might understand that it's not good. I'm not going to the category of someone who is innocent by reason of insanity. I'm talking about...
Correct. They downplay, they rationalize the adverse effects that they've done to others.
Right. Many times people ask me a shaila whether something's mutter, and they give me this long cheshbon of why it's okay. And, they know. They want to rationalize, their self-centeredness.
Sometimes in the Orthodox Jewry, they're looking for which Rav is going to give them the heter that they want.
Yeah, there are. I think there are only two times when it's mutter, and not only mutter to do, it's lechatchila, one should do that. One is in Shilas of the Gunos, that we always try and find the person that would be mater and let this woman continue her life. All right? And the other is mamzeris. There's a Shilah where there's someone's a mamzer, we go to the person that's going to be mater, not to the person that's going to be osir. Right?
Lives doing that.
What?
Because lives are ruined if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, right? There's supposed to be an imut, a pleasantness to Torah. The person that doesn't understand, right, the connection of the individual to all of creation, he doesn't understand what self-love is or what it should be, right? And that can lead to perversions. It's when a person understands that he is part of the klal, part of all of creation, not just the Jewish people, but all of people, all of animal life, plant life, rocks, stones, everything in creation, right? Mm-hmm. Then self-love is merely part of the love of creation. By the way, there are many, many stories with the Baal Shem Tov, right, where he went out to communicate with the grass and the trees and the stones, right? If you look at what Rav Kook is saying, it makes perfect sense, right? The Baal Shem Tov understood. Now, Hasidim wouldn't say it in this way because their understanding of a lot of Hasidic concepts, I think, is often underdeveloped. But if you understand what Rav Kook is saying here, it makes perfect sense. These things are created by God. They're part of the entirety of God's creation, and as such, they all have to be loved, right? It's that completeness of the way of looking at the world that is what the Baal Shem Tov is expressing. And, I mean, it goes back to Midrashim with Shlomo HaMelech understanding the songs of the birds and so on, right? Same type of ideas. Haprat ve'abriya, the individual and creation. Second section. The understanding that everything is part of one great thing, without divisions, without layers or deep layers, right? That is all one unity, exactly like one body, is one of the basic principles of the Torah. Rav Kook says in Oros HaKodsh, Oרות Achayot Olamot, the eternal life, Shelo yesh neshama bodedet. Again, lo yesh, right? It is not that there is an individual neshama, an individual soul. Gargirit, crumb, another crumb, like a sand grain. Gedua, cut off. B'havaya kula, from all of creation. Ela hakol mechubar mishurag va'aruk. But everything is attached, tied, and woven. And we'll see exactly what this means in a minute. As I said, we have again this lo yesh, right? There is no existence of the individual soul, right? The Rav used 3 words to express the connection between the parts of calculation: mechubar, mishurag, and arug. And each one deepens the understanding of what these are. Chibur is I have 2 separate things, 2 pieces of wood that I glue together, right? If you look at it, you can still see, right, that they're here, right? Or nailed together. Shirug, this is much more of a connection. 2 separate things are connected together without any third party connecting them.
They're basically fused together.
Yeah. And if you talk about ariga, woven, the shirt is woven. You can't see a thread, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has, the different parts of it have become one, right? For the person, when we're developing how we understand the unity of creation, first we can see it as a chibur, right? 2 or multiple things nailed together, right? Then they're, let us say, tied together, and then they're woven together. And so they become one with no distinguishable separation between one part and the next. Guf echad v'yeshut echad, one body and one existence. The Rav Kook isn't talking only about the unity of mankind, right? He's talking about the unity of creation. A person has to understand that every part of creation, right, even the smallest of it, dust, right, it is still connected to the whole, right? So if he loves himself, that love should also extend to every part of creation, right? And toward all of creation, he should feel compassion, the Rav heard that in his youth, he heard from the elders of Samragon. Samragon was a city in Latvia where his father was a Rav, about Reb Menashe Me'ilya. Reb Menashe Me'ilya was one of the closest Talmidim to the Vilna Gaon. And he learned in the way the Gaon did, but he had all sorts of tsuras from it.
Wasn't the Gaon?
What?
What's the Gaon?
As long as the Gaon was alive, the Gaon protected him. But when the Gaon was no longer there, he got constantly in trouble from learning the same way the Gaon did. He would say, Kol zman sheyeshna od tola'at achat segura betoch nikik selah. As long as there is one worm that is caught in a crack of a rock, and it's caught and pressed in its suffering, it is inconceivable, it is impossible for him, for any person, to live a relaxed, pleasant life, right? A worm is suffering, therefore I am too suffering, right? It's the worm is like the smallest part, so to speak, of our body. But if your little finger is hurting or your little toe is hurting,
you hurt in total.
yes, right? You can't walk properly, or you can't sit down and write because it bothers your hand. You can't chop the vegetables. There's nothing you can do, right? Because it's part of all of one whole. In the Bris Beni Basarim, right, we have, it says, V'hinei tanur ashan v'lapid eish asher avar bein hagzirim ha'ele. That there is a, let's mistranslate this. This is a pillar of fire and a torch of a pillar of smoke and a torch of fire that goes between the two parts. Avram Avinu is told to make a covenant with God, and he takes animals and he cuts them in half and puts one half of each animal on each side, and then this. No?
Well, there's one that you didn't cut. Only one.
And then the pillar, God's pillar of smoke and fire, goes between them. And Rashi says, Derech korsei bris, lachalek behema v'lavur bein b'sareha. It was the way of those that made a covenant that they would cut animals in half, and the two parties would walk between them as if to say, like, just like these were one, so too we are now one. That's what he says. However, the Sefer Ikrim from Rav Yosef Albo looks at this in a much, much deeper way. He says, Kesher kayam bein shnei anashim. There is an attachment between two people. Kedei likshor uladavek ha'ava beinehem, in order to attach and to tie and attach the love between them, ad shiu shnehem ke'ilu hem guf echad, to make it as if both of them are one body. Kortei habri shrim et goralam ze b'zeh. Those that make the covenant.
It says l'haya, no?
Yeah, I'm explaining. Sorry. That the makers of the covenant, right, want to see themselves as one part. V'haya kol chelik mehem margish b'tzar chevero, and each part of them feels the suffering of the other one. Ad shekasher haya magia choli or nezek bechelika echad, until it comes to the point where one of them is sick or damaged. Haya chavero magish b'choli or b'nezek hahu. The other one will also feel this sickness and pain. V'lo he freed ben shnei elu hachalakim rak hamaves, and nothing will separate between these two parts other than death. Shnei anashim korsei habris, yu kaguf echad. The two people that make the covenant will be like one being. Biyosa b'chaim v'lo yafri b'neihem rak hamaves, and nothing will separate them other than death. Yitchayev, they obligate themselves. Ki kasher yergish echad eze nezek or tsar, when one of them feels damage or suffering, ba al chavero bal briso. I'm sorry about this. He goes to the other one who is the bal bris with him, the one who has the covenant with him. Shiakanes atzmo bedochek lahatzilo. He will put himself into a situation of difficulty to save him. Kamo sheyachnis atzmo b'sakana be'ad atzmo. Just like a person would put himself in danger for himself. V'roy is fit. Shioev oto kavato latzmo. And from this, right, he should love himself as he loves himself. Right?
Loves himself? Or loves others?
He will love the other person just like he loves himself.
Got it.
And Rav Yosef Albo, in this next paragraph, explains this all as v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, and you will love your neighbor as yourself. Right? There's no difference between
your neighbor and
your neighbor and yourself in terms of this kind of love. And we will pick up this year, I guess, after Sukkot.